Blackburn George, Gooners, football fans, welcome to another edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. Blackburn George, how are you, my friend?
Fine and dandy.
Good. People should know you were traveling, just got back into town yesterday, so we didn't do our podcast on Fridays as usual. Thank heavens we play tomorrow, so we have enough time to record this and post this. And before I do that, George, just to remind all the listeners and fans, you and I do this because we love positive football. We don't do it for money, unlike a lot of people. And we think we have a point of view based on our honest point of view, I want to emphasize. We think we have a place in your listening time on YouTube and wherever. I am also posting to Telegram. So like and subscribe. Having gotten all through all the commercials there, George. We have Leeds on Sunday. And there are so many distractions in the lead up, George. Biggest of them, in my opinion, is our manager getting a new contract. A 3-year renewal. Takes him to 2025, 26, I think. Or maybe 2024, 25. Guys, don't quote me on which year it is. But I know these contracts are kind of funny. I'm sure his expires. I'm not sure when his expired. So I'm not going to try to define the duration. Having all said that too, George, another big distraction is today our great rivals, Spurs, play Liverpool. And that is why I said, will Arsenal keep their focus? But let's start about the distraction of the manager's big contract. What was your reaction when you saw that, George?
I think it was predictable. I think it was always going to happen. I think he's done enough for them to be happy with their investment. Of course, people will say that they have total faith in him, and maybe they do. But I think as much of that is that they've made a big investment in him, and they want to realise that investment, and they want to give that a chance to run out. So I'm not sure it's the big show of faith in him as much as a big show of faith in themselves, that they don't want to be seen to be doing anything other than backing him because they've spent a lot of money and they've invested 2.5 years, coming on 3 years in him. So I'm not sure it's that they're desperate to keep him, more that they're desperate not to start again and have lost their investment of time and money. But that's just me being me, looking beyond the obvious.
Which is a little different from his partisans and the PR that he has done such a great job.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's an argument to say that he has done a good job. Personally, I think he's done an okay job. I don't like him personally, but that's absolutely nothing to do with whether he should be given a new contract or not, whether fans like him or dislike him personally. And I think there's enough. There's certainly enough for them. We've got back in the top 6. Top 6.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So that we've definitely got European football back. And that's an improvement, but it's only an improvement on where he took us. If he gets top 4, that's an improvement on the 2 previous years, and that's undeniable. It doesn't matter whether it's because everybody else has been crap or not. We've taken advantage of it, and he's got to have credit for that. And he's done it with an inexperienced squad. He's done it with a very small squad because he trimmed the wages. We may now reap the benefits of that. We were complaining, and we did complain, that he had loaned and sold players that we could have used in this run-up to get top 4. But if we get it without them, without those wages, get them off the books, then then we will reap the benefits. It was a risk, and if it works, it was a risk worth taking. So credit where it's due. He took a gamble. He let Aubameyang go. You can argue about his reasons. Did he do it because of his ego? Did he do it to prove a point? Did he do it because he thought Aubameyang was a busted flush? It doesn't really matter. He did it. And it looks like we could get top four without him. And also without Lacazette, it has to be said, because he dropped on Eddie by accident three games ago, and the story's written from there on.
Well, so George, what do you think of the £250 million he spent since he's here? I mean, is this a good return on the owner's investment?
Well, it may well be. It depends what it does to the share value as far as they're concerned. We look at it as looking at the league position, and they're not going to get $250 million back from the improved league position. They're not going to get that much more from finishing 2 places higher in the league. We've certainly won nothing in prize money from the cups, because we were out them. We've lost the gate receipts from them as well. We've lost gate receipts from European football and the cup competitions. So in that way, they're not getting the money back. But if it means that we look like a more investable club for sponsors, and the share value is maintained or increased, then yes, it could be a good money well spent. And that's what they're looking at. We look at it from a completely different view to what the owners look at. They're looking at the bottom line. They're looking at how much is my club worth.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, not Cronky. What's his name? Why is his name eluding me, George? From Chelsea. The owner, George.
Abramovich.
Huh? Abramovich. Why am I getting? I'm getting old, George. He's valuing the club at £950 million. He hiked the price.
He's valued at what?
£950 million. He wants. He's proposing to the market.
For Chelsea.
The price up. Yes.
So £4 billion nearly now.
What, the sale price?
Yes.
How much?
£4 billion.
£4 billion, George?
Yeah.
I'm going to look that up.
It was put on at 3. That was, I'm told, I believe, and there was that much interest. It's been revised,
and he jacked the price up on the grounds that he was going to donate the money to charity.
Well, of course you would jack the price up if there's a lot of interested parties. It's like a bidding war. You started at 3 billion and 5 people want to buy it, 5 consortiums want to buy it. You're going to jack the price and see who drops out and see how much you can get. But he's still writing off £1.5 billion in debt. Right.
But George, the point I was making, the point I'm trying to make, which and obviously I didn't make it very well, is that for the owners, the value of the club is the most important thing. And I think I recall you making that point a long time ago when we were talking about the Kroenke takeover and what they were getting. Remember, this is not a public company anymore. It's private. The shares doesn't matter. But the value of the club is what matters to the owners, correct?
Exactly. And if you look at it now, let's say Chelsea's worth $4 billion.
Yes.
You've got to say Arsenal's worth at least that.
Well, I mean, you got to remember that Chelsea won the Champions League the other day. That counts for something.
A better stadium. We own the stadium. They don't even own the stadium or the ground that it's built on. We own the stadium. We own the infrastructure. It's a relatively new, top of the range stadium. We have got a richer history than Chelsea. The only thing that we haven't got is assets in the playing staff to the same level. They've got more value in their playing staff. But as a going concern, if I was going to buy a business in which I was going to invest in the playing staff anyway, right? You buy a new football club. Your intention is to improve it and buy players. That should be given. Or you're going to at least know you're going to have to consistently buy players.
Well,
so the fact that they've got a better squad at the moment is not that relevant, because 5 years down the line, that squad will be finished. But if you invest in Arsenal, you've still got the stadium, you've still got the massive fan base, you've still got the history of the 13 titles and the invincible tag. You've still got all that, and you're now going to be spending at the same level for new players. You're only going to gain a short-term value from the better quality players that they have if you're buying a football club. So what I'm saying is that for us, we must surely be worth at least what Chelsea is, because of all the benefits that would come with buying Arsenal Football Club.
And I'm not disputing
So
that.
So what I'm saying is that means he's now got a football club that's worth twice as much as he paid for it.
The Cronkies, you're saying? The Cronkies?
Yes.
Yes, we recall they spent, when we look at the money they borrowed and the approximate value, probably came close to £2 billion. But George, the reason why we're making this point, because people are going to accuse us of accountants going into Leeds, is that the whole point of the Cronkies do not want to, and something we spoke about, the Cronkies want to convey the image of a club that is growing in stature, consistency in management, and quite frankly, they are not going to try to jeopardize that by driving Arteta out. In fact, I think we spoke about this offline recently. They have done a tremendous, one of the biggest jobs in trying to make sure that Arteta's PR profile is as positive as possible. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely. They've protected Arteta at the cost of the players.
Yes.
And I understand why they've done that as well, because they've invested long-term in Arteta. A player can be sold. A player can come and go. But the brand is more important to them than anything. And he's the flagship leader of the brand. They want to give the impression that we have a Pep Guardiola, that we have a Jurgen Klopp.
Yes.
That we have a Thomas Tuchel.
Yes.
That's what they want to give the impression of. That look at Arsenal now, they have this magnificent manager. So they will protect his image at all costs.
We have noticed that. I mean, that's clear.
Of course you've noticed it.
And they have enlisted some of the biggest bloggers and podcasters to aid and abet them.
Absolutely. And the Sky TV and the media and the broadsheets. Everybody's been encouraged to protect and promote Arteta. And I understand why they're doing it. Because he's not Pep Guardiola. He's not Jurgen Klopp. But that doesn't matter if we can make him look like it.
Right.
If you can give the perception of him being like that, great. It's an investment. So now they've got a top-class club playing in Europe and a top-class manager. Perception-wise.
By the way, George, for all those fans of ours that are on social media, especially Twitter, have you noticed that whenever there is a mound of criticism from the fans, do you notice the sudden spurt of Twitter accounts from nowhere that are in defense of Arteta? You wonder, because on Twitter and social media, the employment of bots, and let's not be naive here, is a real PR feature of today. And I think that people need to be aware of that. Many of these accounts are like, they call them astroturfing in America. They are just bots created by PR firms. Have you noticed that, George?
I have noticed it, yeah. But you have to look at it as well, that the profit at the moment is to be behind Arteta and be positive.
Yes.
That's where you're going to get followers from. That's where you're going to get likes from. That's where you're going to increase people watching your podcast and listening to your podcast and reading your blogs. So as long as that atmosphere prevails, it will continue.
Yeah.
You would see if the tide turned, you would see the opposite. You would see people coming out of the woodwork. People that are keeping quiet at the moment would be more vocal if the popular opinion was with them rather than against them. And let's face it, it's with Arteta at the moment. It's with the team.
I know that, George. I mean, you got 3 wins. I mean, Manchester United, Chelsea, and whoever it was last time around. But I remember when we went to 3 games, the second 3-game run of 3-game losses. And you made the point that all the Arteta outers would be out in force. And they certainly were. Which made the Chelsea game such a big game. He just couldn't afford to lose that because that's not something you can easily PR your way out of. I don't know if you recall that, my friend.
Yeah, it was a dodgy time for him.
Yes.
But, the team turned up. And this is something that I've said this on time and time again on this podcast. Whatever we think of Arteta at the moment, it's fairly obvious that the majority of the fan base are still behind him.
Yes.
And the majority of the team are still behind him. Yes. And if they are both behind him, then he's got a chance. That's what we want. That's what we want. We don't want to be knocking him and by association knocking the team, because that's what people do. You criticize Arteta and people say, oh, you're not a real fan, you're not behind the team.
Yeah.
As if there's some correlation between it, as if you can't dislike Arteta and love the team. They don't think that's possible. And again, it's about perceptions. And but the perception at the moment is that he's doing a good job. Things are on the up. It's a young team. It's exciting. Blah 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 blah. And as long as that prevails, good. We shouldn't be doing anything to knock it. But it's hard not to point out the hypocrisy and the stupidity of some of the things that some people are saying. He's done a great job. He's not done a great job. He's done an okay job. At best, he's done an okay job. For a £200 million investment, no Europe, no cup distractions, United and Spurs and Leicester all playing crap, he's done okay.
And, George, you don't have this independent way of thinking. And, clubs have encouraged this tribal thing. And if you ever stick up and say, well, hang on a minute there, the tribe turns on you. And we've got to stop being sheep, because sheep are eventually slaughtered. And perhaps it's a good moment to remind you guys that for this, we are providing an independent point of view. We're not in it for the money. We're not getting money from the club or anywhere else. So, I'm urging you, give our podcast a like and share with you. I mean, Leeds should be easy pickings, but we have, as I said, we could be distracted by the match between Liverpool and the Spurs. But surely, George, this is a game we should win. Look at this. I mean, the thing that comes out is that, they lost matches in a bunch. I know they had a lot of injuries, but George, are you one of those people who are taking this match for granted?
Yes.
I'll take this off and come back to you, George. Yes, tell me why would you take this game for granted, George?
Because we'll win it.
Yeah,
we'll win it. They're crap. They're playing crap, and they've got horrendous injuries. They're on a terrible bad run. And we're
no, George, I dispute that. By the way, I'm not supposed to interrupt you. My critic says allow you to speak. But they have had apart from the loss to City, they had 4 games before that they did not lose. This guy Jesse Marsh has got them back in a
Yeah,
better.
he's made them more solid.
Yes.
But you say they did not lose. They didn't win many either, did they?
No, they beat Watford and I think they edged Southampton. I think.
Well, yeah. So anyway,
Mhm.
the point is, am I taking it for granted? Yes. Simple as that.
George, you
I'm
didn't
going to
read.
assume we're going to win and going to win comfortably. Because if we don't, it's a
Yes.
disgrace.
I'm hearing you. And to be honest, George, they're there for the taking. They have had several injuries. As you know, four big players. The big goal scorer, what's his name from Chelsea? He's been injured for Bamford. He's been injured for a while.
You're at Dallas.
Dallas is injured. I was going to mention him. A very hard-working midfielder. And I think the biggest threat is Rafinha and the Rodrigo fellow, the Spanish fellow. But I've not found him to be very consistent. But we are at home, George. And there should be the tide should be the home support, by the way, George, has been tremendous. I see Cookie making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
You want to take care of her? Yeah. We have had very good home support. Arteta is correct. The home crowd has been very strong, especially after we got over the hump. Everything is enough.
Good as well. It's good. It's good that I think it's explained by the fact that we've been so bad for so long that this decent spell is lifted everybody's spirits. 5 years ago, if we'd have played like this, all hell would have broken loose. But now this standard of play is not only acceptable, but we're enjoying it. And it's nowhere near as good as it was, but it doesn't matter. It's a lot better than it has been recently. So.
Yeah, I don't know. What's your perception, George? One of the things that I have always pointed out, I bring this up again, is that even Leeds chance creation is better than us. It looks marginal, but over a season it counts for something. Are we getting any better there, George? Are we getting any better in our chance creation, or with the coach's work with Nketiah and those 3 midfielders that were playing behind him? Are we getting any better?
I think we are marginally, yeah.
Yeah. But George, and I hinted at this on audience. I think with El Nene and Xhaka sitting so deep and trying to keep things stable and together, we're not going to be the team that's going to go. we're not going to be the chaotic team. We're not going to be the chaotic team that some of us hope. Even Shard Guna was hoping. Don't you think?
No, we're not. No, of course we're not. But I think as the confidence increases, if we get, well, we're not going to get Tierney back, but if we get more solid at fullback, it'll release Xhaka a bit further forward. Xhaka's dropped back recently to play with El Nene, but when it was Partey, he was more progressive. He's been less progressive. However, having said that, it's coincided with improved results.
Yes.
So once again, Arteta might have dropped on a system that works better, because there's always been an argument that if you keep 2 solid players in front of your back 4, it releases your forwards and gives them a bit more freedom.
Yes.
So maybe that's what's happening. Maybe.
Well, last time we spoke about the West Ham game, which is the one we won, by the way.
We played terrible, by the way.
Right, and so I that's what I was coming at. But George, don't you think we can play that terrible and continue to win? And I'm mindful of what you said 5-6 years ago, if we played that terribly, these are Teta boys, Teta, whatever they call them. They are Wenger critics. Let's not even mix them up. Would have been livid
with that performance. Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have been shocking, but it's not a Wenger and it is Mikel. So all of a sudden, what was a really poor performance is elevated into a good performance because we won and we beat West Ham, who have never won a game following a European game anyway. And but people don't want to know that, do they? They don't want to care. They want to think that was a great game against a great team, and we won at their place. Yeah.
By the way, George, let me remind people you made a big call from the first match we had against West Ham some months ago on this podcast that you didn't think West Ham could go all the way, that they didn't have enough depth. And I didn't see the match, but apparently they were a shadow of themselves in the European game.
And I'll tell you something else now.
Yes.
Declan Rice is nowhere near as good as people are trying to make out here.
Yeah.
Well, they talk about like he can carry that team to new highs. He's not that good. He's a decent player, but he's not that good.
But this is England's hope. That's the whole thing. By the way, Joe, I don't want to get distracted but we are. But the other thing I got distracted about, I was so tickled by the Real Madrid win over City. I was like, in the death of George, I can't stop laughing.
Well, you can laugh all you like. I didn't like it at all. I thought if ever there's an injustice in football, you just saw it. And I don't like injustice. I mean, Manchester City were the better team for 179 minutes out of 180. And they were by far the better team. And for them to lose, I don't like it. I'm not because I like City. I don't like City. I just don't like to see by far the best team lose inexplicably.
So, which is, I suppose, that is consistent with your support of Arsenal and Wenger. We have had, we've been better teams, and they snuggle out one goal and they defend for their life.
And I fucking didn't think that was funny. I don't fucking think it's funny.
Well, I'm laughing, George. Anyway, George, on that note, we got to sneak in a couple of sidebars here. But you have no doubt that we should take Leeds at home.
Absolutely.
Well, on that note, guys, we are on this. So your score?
4-0.
Wow, George. What has happened to you?
I'm on the Arteta train, the happy train, the sunshine bus. Win. I bought it. I'm rolling the dice. I'm with him. I'm behind him. Super Mitty.
You're just falling in your resistance, and you're all in. Well, guys, George and I will do the post match at some point. Hopefully we can get Scout Ehab here. I haven't seen him around. I know he's been traveling. So Ehab, if you're well situated now after your travels, we're going to reach out to you, going to get your point of view. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, subscribers. Like and subscribe. An independent point of view. All farts that have seen too much football. So much of it we've forgotten. But I think we have something to add. So we look forward to your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, George.
Bye.
Bye.